Hi, welcome to Miracles with Jenny. I'm going to share with you today one of my favorite miracles. About 12 years ago, when I was pregnant with our youngest daughter, Journey, I had been air vac for a second time to a higher care facility down in Phoenix, which was about 4 hours away from where we were living at the time. And um, I had been there that time for about a week when my insurance said they no longer wanted to pay for me to stay at the hospital. But my doctors did not want me to leave the hospital. So we were trying to figure out how I could stay somewhere close to the hospital and just stay on bed rest and then come to the hospital several times a day to be monitored. The reason I had been air vac was because the baby, Journey, her heart rate kept dipping really low and they couldn't figure out what was going on with her. So she needed to be monitored regularly. Her heart rate needed to be monitored. And so we looked around for maybe family members who lived close to the hospital. And there were a few, but they all had cats, and I'm super allergic to cats. And the doctors said definitely they did not want me on Benadryl or some kind of medication to combat the allergies because we were already struggling with Journey's heart rate and they just didn't want to add that to the mix. So we started looking at other options, and one of those options was the Ronald McDonald House. And it's a house that's close to the hospital, and I believe it's a nonprofit, and they will house people who need to be close to the hospital because maybe their child is in the hospital long term or something like that. And we were really hopeful about that. Made the calls and thought I was going to get in there, but I needed to be at least I believe it was at least 30 weeks pregnant, and I wasn't 30 weeks pregnant yet. So that disqualified me for being able to stay there. And we didn't have the finances for me to get a hotel. And I remember that I had called my mom and I was really sad and just trying to figure out, like, I feel like we've explored all our options. I'm not sure what we're going to do now. I definitely could not go back to where I lived. It was too far from the high risk hospitals that I needed to be close to. So we were all just praying and trying to figure out what we could do. And then um, later that day, after I found out I couldn't go to the Ronald McDonald House, my nurse came in and she said, "Oh, you look so sad. What's going on?" And I just said, "I'm so stressed out. I don't know what to do. I can't find a place to stay, but my insurance isn't going to pay for me to stay here. We can't afford to pay out of pocket for me to be here." And she said, "Oh my goodness. I I have an apartment that is going to be empty. I'm going on vacation to spend the Christmas holiday season with my family. I believe she said in New York. So she said my apartment's going to be empty for weeks, and I would be so happy if you wanted to stay there." And I remember I was just like, "Wait, what?" And I said, "Are you are you serious? Are you sure?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, yes. It's just going to be empty and I would love to do this for you. Please, please stay in my apartment." And I just kind of was trying to put this all together in my mind, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I think she's serious." And she said, "Oh, you know what though? I didn't get a Christmas tree. I knew I wouldn't be here for Christmas, and so I didn't get a Christmas tree. Oh, I really wish I would have gotten a Christmas tree now so there would be one there for you." And I knew she was being dead serious, that she was really going to let me stay in her apartment, which was such a beautiful miracle. And I remember thinking though that Tony and the older three kids would be coming for Christmas and on weekends, and also that even though she was going to be gone for a couple weeks, I was needing to stay for at least a month or longer, but that it was at least a temporary idea and some hope that just kind of just came alive in me in this nurse's sweetest gesture of love towards me at that time. And so I called and I told Tony, and he was just like, "What? This is amazing." Tony's my husband, for those of you who may not know. And we were just crying and just so touched by this nurse's ability to just be so giving to us, to strangers. And then, I called and I told my mom, and we knew it wasn't like the answer, but it was at least something to get us to the next step. And so we started making plans for that. And then the next day, my mom called and told me that somebody came into her work and gave her enough money to pay for a hotel for me for 6 weeks, which was how long the doctors wanted me to stay close to the hospital, was for the next 6 weeks. And until I was far enough along in my pregnancy to not need to be at the high risk hospital. And so my mom said somebody came in, they would like to stay anonymous, but they gave us enough money to pay for you for a hotel for 6 weeks. And even now, like 12 years later, just the tears come so quickly. And there ended up being a hotel that was like right next to the hospital. And it was an extended stay. And so we were able to get me checked in there. And it was just such a miracle to have that happen for us and to have this space, not only for me to stay, but it was big enough. It was a 2-bedroom suite. So it was big enough for my family to come on the weekends and stay with me as well when they were out of school and Tony had some time off work. And it just became our little home for the next 6 weeks. And it was such a blessing. And I also remember that the hospital decided to send their security guards to come and pick me up several times a day to take me to the hospital to be to have the baby monitored, to have Journey monitored, to make sure her heart rate was still doing okay. And these little security guards would just come to the hotel and get me, and they were so sweet and so kind. And they would always just say, "Have a good day," and "You were thinking about you," and they just were my little caregivers. And anyways, it was just at a moment when I was feeling like there wasn't any hope in the situation that, we turned to prayer, and God just created this miracle for our family. And I will forever be grateful for that. And I have such tender, sweet feelings about that whole experience. The nurse, the person who paid for the hotel for 6 weeks, the little security guards who would come and get me. And especially for my husband, he was taking care of everything. And he would load up after he was off of work Friday night and bring the kids down to see me. And then because I was on bed rest, he would do my laundry and grocery shop for me fill my fridge and freezer before he left back home Sunday afternoon to get everybody out the door to school again and to work, to get him to work again on Mondays. And um, what a tender, beautiful time that was for our family. And we were surrounded by so many miracles every day. And I just wanted to share that one with you because it is one of my favorites. And I have so many miracles that I'm so excited to share with you. And I just hope that somehow this podcast will shine a bright light on Jesus Christ and what he does for us and what our Father in heaven does for us and the the miracles that are around us every day. If we'll pray and ask in faith, even just with the tiniest little inkling of hope, um, in the darkest times when we just feel like, oh, what? I don't see how there could be a way. And we just turn and just ask, is there a way? I just testify to you that there is a way. And having just that little bit of hope that there might be a way is enough. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to do this podcast and share my miracles and shine a bright light on all the goodness that is around us. And I hope you come back and listen for more. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.